ISUPK.
Shalom, Israel. Yahweh Brakatham to the brothers. Yahweh Shema Shah. This is Priest and Officer Nadazak Shah, the I.S.U.P.K, the state of Virginia. All right, you understand? So, what we're going to get into today, we're going to talk about, everybody know this coming up. We got it coming up on Monday, this disgusting holiday called Columbus Day. You understand? Where the earth celebrates here with our oppressor, our slave master, celebrating Christopher Columbus coming in from Spain and so-called discovering the new world, conquering the land and setting up what we know today is the foundations for the United States of America, which would later become the colonies, which would later become different states, and later on become the United States of America. This is how it all started to build up America. Everything that you see in Manhattan, in New York City, the Hollywood, the Orlando, Florida, the Miami, the Universal Studios, the Chicago, your Seattle, all of everything, the Starbucks, your insurance companies, your Geico, everything, all of this was started here with this murderer, Christopher Columbus, and these pilgrims and Quakers and Jesuits, our oppressors and slave masters, just like Donald Trump, just like ICE, that came here and absolutely decimated our people, our brothers, the tribe of Gad, the so-called North American Indians, also was already here to the western part of the country. They don't like to talk about it, the tribe of Issachar, which are the so-called Mexicans, or as they would later be called, so-called Mexicans, you understand, because Texas is Mexico, and all of the natives from there are Native Americans as well, even though the United States does not consider them Native Americans. California is Mexico, and all of these lands they had to steal in order to create what we know now as the United States of America. There's prophecies in the Bible, not only that confirm that the tribe of Gad, that the so-called Native Americans are the tribe of Gad, but also that they are Hebrew Israelites according to the records of our people in the Bible, that one of the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, and these prophecies in the Bible clearly identify them as well as what would happen when Columbus and the conquistadors came here to North America and interacted with them. So the first thing we're going to get now, we're going to get Genesis chapter 49 and verse 19. All right? This is a prophecy in the Bible to identify who is being talked about. You will never learn this in church. You will only get this proper breakdown in the I.S.U.P.K. Go ahead and read that.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 19. Gad, a troop shall overcome him.
Gad. The word Gad means a troop cometh. You understand? A troop shall overcome him. What does that word troop mean? Troop is a military cavalry or unit, you understand? The tribe of Gad was conquered totally by the F Troop, you understand? Andrew Jackson. When they marched the tribe of Gad on the Trail of Tears from the eastern part of America during the winter all the way to Oklahoma, man. They marched those brothers and sisters, and countless of our brothers of the tribe of Gad died. They froze and starved to death, had heart attacks and suffered in sorrow and depression, man. Just how our brothers and sisters are living today on these reservations that our slave master put them on, man. If you are so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native American, you should be absolutely ashamed of yourself to celebrate Columbus Day, to go to any barbecue, any party, any cookouts on Monday. You should absolutely despise Columbus Day the way that if you love America, you will despise 9/11. Because Columbus Day is represented, is signifying a great victory, you understand? Honoring this man who murdered our people. We're going to get in the scriptures what the Lord said would happen, and we're going to show in history that these things that were prophesied actually took place, that was prophesied by Moses in the Bible, man. This Bible is not talking about so-called white people. This Bible is written about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and we're going to get talking about Native Americans right here in the scriptures. So go ahead.
But he shall overcome at the last.
The Lord said that the tribe of Gad will overcome at the last. Right now, the tribe of Gad has been completely overcome, man. Completely overrun. From Canada, all in North America, all over, man. They've completely taken the land. They've put our brothers and sisters on reservations. They're living right now in Wyoming. And I think the number one incarcerated in Wisconsin right now is the Native Americans. Something like 62% of entire communities and cities, like a lot of people don't realize, these brothers is the tribe of Gad. These is Native Americans. These brothers is in jail in entire cities you wouldn't even know. They all sitting in jail right now. You understand? Or being kidnapped, like in Wyoming and out over there in the Dakotas, man. Native American sisters going missing. It's a sister, her name was Patricia Spotted Crow. This sister sold $31 worth of weed, allegedly. Now, you shouldn't be a drug dealer. A drug dealer's a witch, and the Lord will destroy our people for being drug dealers. But this sister sold $31 worth of weed, allegedly, and they gave her 12 years in jail for selling weed. A Native American sister, her name is Patricia Spotted Crow, you understand? Amber Geiger, a white woman who's a police officer who's supposed to know better, committed a murder on a black man in his home, you understand, and did nothing to try to save this brother's life. Offered him no aid. She walked around and waited for that brother to die, and they got it on film. She got less time than this sister of the tribe of Gad, Patricia Spotted Crow. She got less time for a murder than this sister got for $31 worth of weed. I don't even know what the hell $31 worth of weed looks like. But they gave her 12 years for that, man. Just it goes to show you, man, the same way that America oppresses so-called African Americans and Hispanics is the same way that America targets and oppresses Native Americans, the tribe of Gad, man. So take me now to the next scripture there. Give me the next scripture I got on that list.
Psalms chapter 55, verse 20.
This is what happened, man. Keep going.
He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him.
This is what the Lord is saying. When Christopher Columbus, when those Quakers, when those Pilgrims, when those Puritans came to the so-called New World, they left Europe. You understand? They left England. They left their land in the Old World that was void of resources, you understand? That was very hard for them to survive. And when they came to this new land, they met our brothers, the tribe of Gad, and they took care of them. They taught them how to survive the winter, how to farm the crops, how to survive, how to live on the land. They brought them in and treated them like a decent human being, because the tribe of Gad did not know that our slave masters were not decent human beings, that these were animals. They didn't know that they were helping Jason Voorhees. They didn't know that they were helping Chucky, that they were helping Freddy Krueger, that they were helping Timothy McVeigh and Dylan Roof and Amber Geiger and George Zimmerman. They didn't know that they were helping Jeffrey Dahmer, you understand? They didn't know that they were helping this nation of murderers and criminals that would go against them as you offer them help. Imagine someone is in need of help. They hurting, they starving, their family is suffering, their kids are dying. You bring them in and help them, then they turn around and then they kill your whole family and steal your home. Like that's what they did to our brothers, the tribe of Gad, man. They put forth their hand against the people that was at peace with them. You understand? People that helped them and took them in and clothed them and fed them, they stabbed them in the back. You understand? This is what the Lord said was going to happen. This is also why the Lord said that our people should never join another nation. As much as you think that that blonde hair and that blue eyes and that brunette hair and that smile and that pink pale skin, as much as you think that that is so wonderful, and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty and Snow White and Jesus and the angels and the Virgin Mary, you need to snap out of that, man. That's a demonic spell that the Christian church has put on you. Everybody in the Bible is black. You understand? The angels, Jesus Christ, Mary, Joseph, Daniel, Isaiah, Moses, God. Everybody in the Bible is black that the Lord loves. You understand? The so-called our slave master, our oppressor, the ones that enslaved and murdered the North American Indians like Christopher Columbus and George Washington and Andrew Jackson, they are the devil that the Bible speaks of. Their people are the devil that the Bible speaks of. You understand?
That's right.
That's what it says. Keep going.
He have broken his covenant.
He made a treaty and agreement. United States government, our oppressor, the slave master, Christopher Columbus, Donald Trump, they made 178 treaties with the Native Americans. Treaties about land, treaties about reservations, and they have broken every single one of those treaties. They've broken every one of those treaties. They came back to take the land from the Navajo after they found nickel deposits. They trying to still build the XL pipeline. You understand? Having protests and things about that. Like, they have always stabbed our people in the back. If you are a black, Hispanic, or Native American, you should know to never love and trust our oppressor. You should never trust pale face that speaks with forked tongue. You understand? You should never trust these people. Why would you? The Bible says, consider the years of many generations. And for every generation, since we have encountered them, since 1492, what is that book? Since 1491, you understand? Since our people, since the tribe of Gad had to encounter them, they've done nothing but rape, rob, murder, and pillage, and steal and lie to cover it up. You understand? This is what the Lord wants us to realize. This is recorded in the Bible. Keep going.
Verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
And this is where you hear your politicians, your Donald Trumps, you understand? Your Andrew Jacksons, your George Bushes. The words that come out of their mouth is so smooth. You understand? We can work together. Let's have bipartisanship. You know, let's agree to disagree. We're a right-wing conservative. I'm a liberal. I have my beliefs. I believe that all men are created equal. We're all God-fearing human beings. None of that existed when it came to Mexicans, Native Americans, and so-called black people. We were not then, nor are we now treated like human beings. Prime example, a dead police dog, a brother that killed a German shepherd trying to attack him, that black man got 45 years. A dead black man, the murderer of him gets 10 years. She gets 10 years and a hug from the judge, and a black woman strokes her hair of this convicted murderer. You understand? This is what happened. The words are so smooth, man. You think this is Jesus you're looking at. You think that this is Jesus, that it's God, that it's the angels, that it's Mary, that it's holy and wonderful, that it was sent from the Lord above when you see our slave master. Because he talks so nice. That's why you black people into politics, man. All they do is lie to our people like they lied to the Native Americans. The more and more our people believe that we have some part of America, the more and more we lose our communities. The more our families are destroyed, the more our sisters have abortions, the more blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans die of drug overdoses. Right here in the state of Virginia, while America's talking about legalizing marijuana, they've locked up 30,000 people just last year alone, 50% of which were so-called Afro-Americans, not including the so-called Hispanics and the Native Americans that they've locked up, because everybody knows that if you're white and you commit a murder, you get 10 years. If you choke Eric Garner to death, you get to keep your job. You understand? If you murder Trayvon Martin, you get to go home and become a celebrity. You understand? So you know for sure that our slave master is not putting his children in jail, 30,000 in 1 year for marijuana arrest. That's all blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans. And you had better start paying attention to this. You understand? This Columbus holiday is to remind you of how much America absolutely hates our people. You understand? They are literally celebrating this man that came and murdered. 77 million North American Indians were murdered when these Europeans came here. And Columbus Day is to celebrate their proud heritage, just like the Confederate statues, just like the Ku Klux Klan, just like just like Make America Great Again, and the MAGA hats, while Trump tells the ICE agents to shoot our Hispanic brothers and sisters in the legs to slow them down, while they put them in INS detention centers, these of which are also natives to the land of America, Texas and California. They put them in dog cages and tell them to drink from the toilet. No shower, no soap. They got an entire jail filled with elementary school kids. They got 4- and 5-year-olds sitting in the courtroom. These are the natives of this land. No Mexican, so-called Mexican, is illegal in this land. Those are the natives of Texas and California and New Mexico and Arizona. You understand? Keep reading.
But war was in his heart.
In the true heart of our slave master is war. There's no legislation or anything that's being passed that is not to lull our people into a false sense of security so that they can better make war against us. Giving Barack Obama the option, black people, you get in the right to vote, and putting Barack Obama in office, that was a war move. Because now they can murder unarmed black men in record numbers since Obama left office and put the most openly racist president in office, Donald Trump. And he will put Hispanics in dog cages. You understand?
Right.
He'll tell the police to kill more black men. You understand? Amber Geiger followed Donald Trump. Donald Trump despises blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, just like Andrew Jackson and George Washington and Christopher Columbus. They're all the same people. This is the same nation of people. This is the same people that crucified Christ. This is the same as Pontius Pilate. These are the same conquistadors that tortured our brothers, the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Tainos in Puerto Rico and Central and South America, and forced them to speak Spanish, and forced them to speak Portuguese in Brazil, and forced you to be a Catholic, forced you to be a Christian, forced you to accept the image of Caesar Borgia, aka the white image of Jesus Christ, when the Bible says Jesus Christ is a black man that put crack and cocaine and heroin in your neighborhood, that gave syphilis and the Tuskegee experiments in Agent Orange. All of these are the same people, you understand? You should never celebrate anything with them. The Lord said, be ye therefore holy. That means be separate. That's what it says in the Bible. Any more in that scripture? Go ahead.
His words were softer than oil.
His words are softer than oil. He's not going to come out and say, you understand? Well, there was a time when he would not just come out and say, I just want to get rid of these people. I don't want any more of them. Hillary Clinton, you understand? She would use cold words. Bill Clinton said cold words. These are super predators. The urban youth, the crime problem. All of these things were used to vilify black people. They would say the Indians. Indian means savage. You understand? These are godless savages. They would say you have to kill the Indian to save the man. When they put our brothers and sisters, they kidnapped our children and put them in boarding schools where the Catholic nuns would beat them, where the Catholic priest would molest the children, you understand, and beat them if they told, and make fun of them for speaking their native languages, and force them to cut their hair, and beat them, and killed so many of the children, and buried their bodies on the land of these Catholic Indian boarding schools. That is Columbus Day. That is America. That's Make America Great. That's the history of these people, of this land, of that flag you salute, that you pledge allegiance to, that is dedicated to honoring the memory and continuing the legacy of rape, robbery, murder, and abuse on so-called Native Americans, blacks, and Hispanics. You understand? If you love America, you are a traitor to your people. You understand? Keep going.
Yet were they drawn swords.
They draw swords with their words, man. They draw swords against us. You understand? It was a trap. Every leader that America puts in office, none of that has anything to do with fixing our people. The only leadership that the Lord appointed that will fix so-called Native Americans, blacks, and Hispanics is Commander Gen.YAHANNA. The I.S.U.P.K is the leadership that the Lord set up to deliver our people and fix us. You understand? To get us off of crack and heroin, to stop the molestation on the reservation, and the heroin and alcoholism and drug addiction, and depression and poverty. You understand? You can't vote your way out of that. We're going to have to turn back to the Lord. All right? Take me down to the next scripture there.
Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 12.
Go ahead.
Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood.
The Lord said, woe. Woe is old Quaker English. It means destruction. The Bible said, the Lord said, woe means death and destruction to him that buildeth a town with blood. You understand? America, Washington, D.C., New York City, Manhattan was filled with black people. Before that, it was filled with Native Americans. They murdered them to build America. They murdered to build all of this, to get South Carolina and Virginia where we are now. They had to murder the Native Americans. They had to murder the Wampanoag. They had to shed their blood. Underneath of these streets and these cities where you are the bones of the North American Indians. You understand? Keep going.
And established a city with iniquity.
They established a city with iniquity, man. What is iniquity? Iniquity is a sin. If you go into a man's house and you steal that man's house, that is a sin. If you murder a man and take his family and put them in the basement and move your family in the house, that is a sin. That's what Christopher Columbus started. That's what the Pilgrims, the colonists, the Jesuits, the Quakers, the settlers, that's what they did. You see how smooth those words sound? You see that, Garage? See how smooth those words? When you say pilgrim or settler or conservative or Christian or Quaker, it sounds so nice. It sounds so sweet. It doesn't sound like murderer. It doesn't sound like genocide. It doesn't sound like torture. It doesn't sound like mass hangings, like they hanged the Native Americans to steal their land. It doesn't sound like putting them in houses and setting the houses on fire, which is what they did. It doesn't sound like burning families alive in their houses. You understand? It doesn't sound like putting them in pots of boiling water and cooking them alive, or taking their babies from pregnant women and stomping the baby's head. It doesn't sound like, you see how smooth those words sound? See how smooth? Rather than telling you that this is the Loch Ness Monster or a death squad coming from Europe, rather than saying that, they'll just say, we're settlers, we're pilgrims, we're the Quakers, we're the Irish, you know? We're seeking political asylum. You understand? Can you help us, please? You're not realizing that this is a damn animal. This is a monster that our brothers and sisters help. We're not realizing that. They saw Amber Geiger. They saw her tears, her pink cheeks. They saw her blonde hair, and it was like, this is wonderful. You know, this is wonderful. they didn't know that Amber Geiger was going to murder you. You understand? And that's what the Lord wants our people to realize. When you see our slave master, start looking at them like the school shooter they really are. When you see those children, how they vilify black children from having the pants sagging, and your music is too loud, and your afro and your braids, and the whole black culture, they vilify Hispanics for speaking Spanish and calling them gang members and everything. All of these stereotypes which are not true, calling them lazy and all of that. Start to look at your slave master as the school shooter. Look at them as Amber Geiger. Look at them as Jeffrey Dahmer. Look at them as Timothy McVeigh, waiting to let off bombs and shoot up schools and colleges and churches. Start to look at them like that, because that would have saved our people's life if we looked at Christopher Columbus this way. All right, so keep going. Any more on that? Let's get to the next scripture. Let's get to these.
Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 17.
Deuteronomy 27 and 17. Let's get some more about this Columbus Day. Keep going.
Cursed be he that removeth his neighbor's landmark.
Cursed be he that move his neighbor's landmark. What does it mean? Like you have a marker that marks your land to separate the land of you versus the land of your neighbor. You understand? When our oppressor, when Christopher Columbus, our slave master, when these Quakers and Pilgrims when they came to this land, they didn't see walls and gates and fenced-in cities and towns. And because of that, our oppressor assumed that the land belonged to no one, because there were no gates or no walls. Because he was such a savage that he believed that you had to block off the land, which the Lord tells you to do. You understand? To build up fortified fences and cities and gates and walls, because there are animals like Christopher Columbus lurking around. But the tribe of Gad did not live like that. They didn't have fenced-in cities and walls. This was the land of our people. The next land is for the Navajo. That land is the Shoshone. You understand? Like you got water and resources and deer and food over there. We got what we need over here. That's y'all land. This is our land. But if you are dealing with an animal who steals everyone's land and resources, who steals everything like our slave master, then you need a wall. You need gates. You need fences. You need signs. He removed the landmarks and just stole all the land. That's what he did. That's how they got America. You understand? Take me to the next scripture.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 31.
Let's get some more on this. What happened when Columbus came? Keep going.
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes.
The ox shall be slain before thy eyes. What is the ox that was slain? The buffalo. You understand? William F. Buffalo Bill Cody. You understand? He had a troop of men, and they killed something like 10,000 buffalo a year. All they did was just ride around on horseback with muskets, with their rifles, and they literally genocide. They mass slaughtered the buffalo to starve the Native Americans to death. They used the buffalo hides for clothing, for rope, for everything. Think of all the pollution and everything in the land. The Native Americans, the tribe of Gad, used everything on the deer, on the buffalo, the skin, the fur, the meat, the bone, the hide. And our slave master came like a plague, like cancer, like AIDS, like syphilis, like herpes, and infected the land and absolutely decimated the buffalo and starved the Plains Indians to death. You understand? Starved them to death. That's what this animal does. That's what Christopher Columbus does. That's what you celebrate on Columbus Day. That's what America celebrates on Columbus Day, man. That's the heritage and the history that our slave master loves so much. You cannot have America without Christopher Columbus. Without the murder of the buffalo and the murder of the Native Americans, there is no United States of America. There's no colonies, there's no Senate, there's no House of Burgesses, there's no two-party house, there's no executive legislative branch, there's no Wall Street, there's nothing without the slaughter of our people. This is how America was built. And if you love it, this is what you are loving. This is what you're saluting. This is what you're saying, God bless America, that it was able to murder our people. Keep going.
And thou shalt not eat thereof.
Meaning you're not going to have any food to eat anymore because this animal has come and slaughtered all of the buffalo. Meaning, mind this, they murdered something like 15 million buffalo. They murdered millions of buffalo a year. Who do you know murders millions of something a year? Not to eat it, not to feed your family, just so that someone else's family starves to death. That is this animal. You understand? That's our slave master. That is where Donald Trump comes from. That's Hillary Clinton's forefathers. That's Donald Trump's ancestors. You understand? That's John McCain and Senator Tom Daschle and who else? Anderson Cooper. Who are all the white people everybody loves? Who are the great white men everybody loves in America?
They love George Washington.
They love George Washington and Ulysses Grant, Thomas Jefferson, the founding fathers, and the Alexander Hamilton, John Adams, Roosevelt, JFK, Benjamin Franklin. These are their ancestors. This is where they come from. They have a lineage of murderers. Same thing for Sally at your job and the teacher that works in the office at your kid's school that's calling them the N-word, that's called, like in Virginia, the teacher, and in Texas, that's calling the police trying to get the Hispanic kids deported out of the classroom. The camp counselor that's pulling the .45 revolver on kids in the park. That's Barbecue Becky that's calling, hoping the police will show up and murder you for having a cookout in the park. Or Permit Patty that's calling the police, hoping that they'll show up and murder your 11-year-old black son because he's cutting grass in the neighborhood, but your slave master moved into the neighborhood. And she wants to see your son hanging from a tree. And because of it, she can't physically do it, so she'll call the police knowing that the police show up and kill black men, like they did Tamar Rice, a 12-year-old on the playground in Ohio. She knows this. How does she know this? Because this is her heritage. Killing our people is her heritage, you understand? These are her forefathers. You can't expect someone to be different than their forefathers. You understand? It just doesn't make sense. If I have a wolf, and I take that wolf, or I have a lion, and these lions make lion cubs, and I take this lion away from his family and try to bring it in my home and pretend like this isn't a damn lion, or I get a pet crocodile, or I get a damn, what else? Or I get a rattlesnake, and I get the rattlesnake as a baby and bring it into my house and raise the rattlesnake and feed and take care of it. And one day that rattlesnake does what all rattlesnakes do, which is bite the hell out of someone and poison it, and then he bites one of my kids and my kid dies because I brought a damn rattlesnake into my family. Our slave master is a rattlesnake. He's a crocodile. He's a wolf. He's not your friend. He's not your buddy. He's only there for an opportunity to exploit you, not knowing who he really is. And that's what Christopher Columbus did. All right? Keep going.
Thou shalt build an house.
You're going to build a house. Like the Iroquois. They make it seem like all the Native Americans were just naked running through the woods. That's an absolute lie. Native Americans was in New York. Native Americans were in Manhattan. They were in the Carolinas. It gets freezing cold in New York. When the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock, it was freezing cold during that winter. They had buffalo hides, leather hides, jackets, coats, furs, fringes, everything. You understand? The Iroquois, known as the people of the longhouse, log cabins, those are Native American customs. Building houses, wood houses, cabins, that's what our forefathers did. Our brothers, the tribe of Gad, everybody wasn't living in a teepee. Those were the Plains Indians living in teepees. Our people had houses that we built, had houses built with clay, houses built with straw, houses made out of wood. You understand? They don't teach our people these things. They just make it seem like everyone is just naked, running around, screaming, just savages, killing everything. Like, that's an absolute lie. And they use the words of their mouth to demonize our people so they can justify killing us. Just like they did to that brother in Dallas who testified against Amber Geiger for murdering that brother. They want to vilify him and say he was a drug dealer. And what drug dealer in their right mind would go to court and testify in a damn murder trial? What drug dealer would do that? What part of the game is that? And then two brothers murdered him as they traveled from Louisiana to Dallas, Texas. A 5-hour damn drive to get some weed. And then they murder the weed dealer, allegedly, and leave the weed. It's absolute nonsense. But they use these things to justify killing our people, which is why we have to turn back to the Lord and actually recognize them for who they truly are.
Nobody tell you crap. You know why? Because I never saw you before. But you a black man like me. And it works out.
My whole life was trying to find something to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow. Felt pain and a lot of sorrow. Got betrayed, sold packs. I didn't even have my heart broke. Living confused, about to lose hope. Cops got me on the side of the road like a sideshow. Need an antidote before I croak. Now I'm setting fire to rhythm man blues, call this guitar smoke. Rebel with no cause, trying to find direction. The world got me vexed. Picked up a bad liquor habit that's hereditary from oppression. Felt like my life was on fire, trying to find an exit. Now look, 10 G's plus a good record. Sometimes a follower is a soldier, trying to find a good shepherd. Plus when you in hell, how do you excel? Wisdom the breath of life, I believe in fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No calling can cause pain. Something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord? Got a tongue like a two-edged sword.